There's so much tech on the A8, it's hard to know where to start. 3 screens cover the dashboard, one that replaces the half-digital, half-analog gauge cluster on the last model, the Audi MMI infotainment system at center, and a third that does climate control and acts as a writing pad for your finger. Oh, and there's a heads-up display, HUD, of course. Around the vehicle are a dazzling number of sensors, including long-range radar, 4 mid-range radars, 360-degree cameras, up to 12 ultrasound cameras, and, for the first time in a production car, LiDAR. That's a lot of input data, all of it crunched by a central ZFAS driver assistance controller. There's also an NVIDIA K1 unit to handle the infotainment chores. Another new feature is the crossing assist, which brakes automatically if a vehicle passes dangerously in front. The tech also allows you to use the detachable Audi tablet to self-park in tight spaces, and it can also do automatic parallel parking when you're inside the vehicle. Audi demonstrated the self-parking using the tablet and parallel parking with a driver at the wheel. The parallel parking system didn't work well for part of the test. The A8 seemed to get too close to a column and stopped. To be fair, this is a pre-production car, and Audi said it would have the bugs worked out before it goes on sale. Still, it was a disquieting illustration of the A8's complexity. Steve Dent, Engadget Select models pack an all-new Audi AI active suspension, an electronic chassis powered by a 48-volt system. That gives you dynamic all-wheel steering and a fully active electromechanical suspension that can do some interesting tricks. For instance, the front camera can scan the road ahead and, when it detects a bump, pre-lift the body to better soak it up. Furthermore, if the 360-degree cameras detect an impending side impact, the suspension lifts the body by up to 80 mm, 3.1 inches, within a half second to better absorb the blow. That can reduce injuries by up to 50%, Audi says. It also showed how the AI electromechanical suspension lifts the car to help absorb particularly rough bumps. From within the car, a fairly drastic speed bump that felt pretty rough with the system turned off was much milder with it engaged. The Audi A8 will come with a wide choice of engine options, including a V6 with 340 horsepower, a 460 horsepower V8 and finally, the rather crazy 586 horsepower W12, yes, that's a W. The latter engine, on top of producing crazy power, lets you switch off cylinders in mid-drive to increase gas mileage. Eventually, you'll see a plug-in hybrid with a engine and 31-mile all-electric range. I tested the 340 horsepower V6, which had all the power I would ever need for passing and for climbing a twisty mountain road. The navigation system was impressively easy to follow, showing up on the instrument display, the central display and the HUD when needed, making it nearly impossible for me to get lost. I tried, believe me. Once during the demo, however, the whole thing went dead and refused to reboot until we called Audi and figured it out. Again, such bugs aren't surprising for a pre-production car and will be fixed, engineers promised. We were in the middle of the freeway, though, so it wasn't ideal. So what's it like to drive the Audi A8 while using all this tech? In a word, overwhelming. Prior to each trip, I had an Audi engineer leaning into the car, carefully explaining all the features. As I mentioned, I was often unsure which navigation mode was engaged, which is distracting, to say the least. And while the electronic dash is well laid out, there's a lot of info on those screens. I love technology, so it pains me to say that the Audi A8 almost has too much of it. The active driving assist, AI electromechanical suspension and self-parking features rely on brand new and complex systems that are, by their nature, prone to bugs and breakdowns. The driving experience was lovely. It's a beautifully quiet, stable and luxurious car with nearly flat handling and tons of power, even on the low-end 340 horsepower version. And Audi did stellar work with the redesign, giving it more personality and nicely remaking the last model's boxy front end. However, it felt overly gadgety, with a few too many potential driving distractions. Despite my caution, you have to give Audi credit for trying all this stuff. The 2019 A8's tech is bound to trickle down to other Audi models and inspire other automakers to do the same to compete. Introducing so many new things is pretty risky, though, so I hope both Audi, and its well-heeled drivers, can handle the challenge. It comes to Europe by the end of the year starting at €90,600, or around $103,000.